All right, good evening. It's May 14th. I'm calling to order our Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council Planning, Land Use, and Port Committee. Um, Looking to see if there's anybody else in the waiting room. We've got one other person. All right, if there are any students here, that's the part of the agenda where I ask you to raise your hand and we will note that.
Is Pat Nave not on the committee anymore?
He's still on the committee.
Pat's on the committee.
He wasn't on the list, so I was wondering who I was going to be able to argue with.
All right.
Who's that talking?
Let me do the roll call. I have him on my list for roll call. If I forget somebody, please correct me. I know we've had some new members. So Diana Nave.
Here.
He says present. Thomas Norman is present. Jason Herring, is he anywhere? I don't see Jason yet. Linda Alexander. Craig Goldfarb. Pat Nave.
Yeah.
Rock Ashfield.
Here.
Sam Rampy.
Here.
Garrett Tyke. And Kane Nicholas.
Here.
Yeah, okay, let me just make sure I've got my notes here. All right. Do we have any elected officials here? Second part of our agenda is reports. If there are any elected officials in attendance that would like to update us on the goings on at the county, state, city level. I don't see anybody. So then we can start moving on to agenda item 3, our topics for discussion or possible motions. Note that any of the following items could result in a motion and or action. So first on our list are the IKES, I think is our nickname for them, the Interactive Kiosk Experience Program. And this is what I feared. So if co-chair can remind me what the title of our exhibit is for that one. We've got like 10 things to juggle. Is there a presentation or am I looking to remember, Diana? What?
I have a comment.
Oh, just a comment. Okay, go ahead.
That was put on there because we thought we might have more information about it for this meeting. Our board did approve the CIS opposing the motion and asking that there be more community outreach. And the council office staff have said that they are asking now for more community outreach, and they're trying to arrange a meeting so that we can get more information about what's actually being proposed. That's it.
Okay. Any questions or further discussion on that topic? Oh, and let's note for the record, Garrett has arrived.
Apologies for being late. The agenda meeting initially on the email stated 7:30. And then when I re-looked at that, I was like, that does not seem correct, and signed in. So apologies.
Oh, yeah, no, please don't worry about joining a little late. I just wanted to get started, make sure I didn't forget to record to the cloud. So we got started right on time. But that's perfect. All right, I'm seeing no hands up, no other gestures that we want to discuss. Item 3A. So we can move on to item 3B, Artport LA.
Do you want me to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, please, Dinah.
Okay, so there's as you probably remember, there were 2 parts to the proposal. The first was the sculpture in the 22nd Street Park, and the second was up above the park off of Crescent. They're wanting to do an administrative office and a studio where there could be classes. With regard to the sculpture garden, their next step is to apply to the port for an MOU. They're looking for a 1-year MOU to kind of a basic tryout period. And they have to submit information for that, an application. For the other part, the port will be releasing a request for proposals for the use of that facility or that space at the corner of Crescent and whatever that street is there. They have asked us for and they plan to bid on that RFP. They have asked us for a letter of support. We can, and I have asked them to share with us when they file for the permit for the MOU, to share with us the information that they file with the port. We can discuss this tonight. We can wait till we get that information from them, whatever you wish to do. Or people may have feedback they want to give now, just so, well, it's fresh in their minds from having heard their presentation.
So let's start with questions. Anybody have any questions? Kane?
My only question is, or what was raised during the meeting, the joint meeting was, in presentation was, maintenance and, just making sure that it stays the way that it does. And is there going to be funds to manage that?
Yeah, that's a good question out. Welcome, Jason. I see for the record, Jason is here. Welcome.
Thanks. Technical difficulties.
No problem. We're on item 3B, Artport LA. Any questions, comments on that, Jason? Or anyone? All right, seeing none, I'll keep us moving. I do have a something to screen share for this one, so let's give that a try here. All right, can we see the artist designed crosswalk?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, Thomas. Oh, are you ready for me to start?
we are ready. Please begin and just tell me when to do the slides.
Okay, so sometime ago in Portland, we got a grant to do an artist design crosswalk. And just by background, this was the second time we tried this. And so we did get the grant, and yay, and we're planning on making a demonstration site at 6th and Harbor in front of the LA Maritime Museum. Next slide, please. So our process for this is that once we got the grant, we wrote a call for, I'm sorry, you went that, fine. This was last year's Port Community Grant. And like I said, the demonstration site is the crosswalk in front of the LA Maritime Museum. And, I did a lot of research, as you might have read what I write in San Pedro Today magazine, that painted crosswalks really do enhance pedestrian safety. Drivers tend to slow down when they see things that are not the normal white lines. And they also give people a sense of place and give them an idea that they're in an arts district. So we are in the stage where we're going to launch a social media campaign to let the community know that we're doing this, and just see what ask people to give us feedback. Next slide, please. So our process for this is that we wrote a call for qualifications and we sent it out on various platforms. We got over 27 artists applied, and many of them gave us concept sketches. And we convened a design advisory panel, which consisted of, for this project, folks from the Asco Palacios from the council office, Drew Leach, the paving contractor, and then people from our board with art background, like Cora Ramirez Vasquez. And we used this very simple scoring sheet. People were rating the artists that they wanted to bring forward from 1 to 3. And then when we all agreed, you ask the same question over and over again to get consensus, we chose 3 finalists. And then we gave those 3 finalists money, $250, to refine their concept. And then when we got that back, we gave them some more money to refine it even more. The way that the contractor does this kind of installation, they make stencils and they use a paving grade acrylic paint to do this. And so it's a little different than, painting a mural. And we're trying to install this by the end of June of 2025. Next slide, please. So this is one of the folks that submitted his rendering. He calls this fishes crossing over. So this will be the crosswalk that you see as you cross the street, going to West Harbor. Next slide, please. This is Rachel Berkowitz, very colorful, really whimsical. So you can see why we like this one. And then next slide. The last one is Lua Kobayashi, and she was influenced by Studio Ghibli. I don't know if you've seen Totoro, the Japanese animation, and these are actually bluefin tuna. And she went to the trouble of making sure that these fish were found in our waters around San Pedro. Next slide. So the like I was saying, we are gonna launch these concept drawings on social media just to get people's feedback about what ones they like and let the community know that they're happening. So have I explained this well enough? I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but do you have questions? Pat?
Hi, Linda. Are these painted on the street or what? Oh,
The paving contractor, you can go back a couple if you want, Thomas. The painting contractor will make like you can go back to the one that's Daisuke.
Oh.
Daisuke, sorry. So the paving contractor will make stencils, and so they put the stencils on the ground just like they do stop sign on the street, and then they will apply the paving paint on top of that. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. I'm assuming it's probably pretty good thick paint like they have, for drawing the lines on streets and things.
It's that's called a thermoplastic paint. Am I a geek or what? And this isn't quite as thick as that, and it's not rated to last as long. It'll be like a 5 to 7 year it'll last about 5 to 7 years. Thermoplastic paint lasts forever, but it's a
Thank you.
lot more expensive.
Yeah. Diana?
Yeah, thank you, Linda. That's very exciting. One of the things that we supported in the PIP, we actually pulled out saying that we wanted to see a crosswalk like this at that specific intersection. And I'm really excited to see these designs. My question is, how do we get the information to share with the community for voting on them or for providing the feedback you mentioned?
I'm working with Brandomir from the PBID, and he's in Mexico right now at his brother's wedding. So when he gets back, I sent him all of these images and the artist's Instagram and social media handles. So it'll be on Facebook and Instagram.
Can you send something to us that we can send out? We'd have a link to it or something, a little description, a little blurb with a link.
Yeah, we could talk offline about what would best serve your needs.
Okay.
Garrett?
Yeah, I was just curious, as far as you mentioned that they last about 5 to 7 years. So what would the maintenance costs of those kind of look like at that 5 to 7 year mark? And at what
They'd have to
point?
be painted. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. At what point then would it make more sense for us to go with like the long lasting thermoplastic? Like, is the thermoplastic a 20-year lifespan versus?
I don't know that that's an option. Right now, this is a demonstration site. So we want to see how this wears. Was this a good idea? What's going to look like in 5 years? And then figure out whether or not we need to do it again.
Okay, and then I guess my follow-up to that would
And
be,
that means, that means raising more money to do this again.
gotcha. My follow-up to that would be where do you plan on publishing those like measurement metrics as far as like, when you guys define how long these will last? Is that going to be something that's publicly posted so we can all see that? Or is that something that's going to be internally held for you to make a decision on?
Well, I wanted them to be out there for a while and then we'll figure out how to report back on how this is doing.
H.
And I would also want to involve, I also sit as an advisory member on the PBID board, and I'd like to involve the PBID with that as well. Hi, Alan.
And Pat, is that a new hand? Or is that your old hand?
Yeah,
Yeah.
offhand.
Okay.
And
All right. Any other discussion or anything else we can do for you, Linda? Good presentation. Very exciting. You know, 3 very different designs. Love them all for different reasons.
I do too. And I'm also making a proposal to the Arts United partners. One of the buckets that we defined when we applied for the California Arts Council grant to be a California Cultural District included wayfinding, and so that projects like this. So I'm asking, since they are stencils, I'm asking if the Arts United partners would fund a second parallel crosswalk of the same design, because the stencils are already made, that would be on the San Pedro side of 6th Street, at the foot of 6th Street. So, you know, it looks like there's actually something going on there, but stay tuned. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Nobody else? Give you the last shot to raise your hand, and I'll stop sharing.
But I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. I think this is a project that many of us have been talking about for quite some time, even before the SWA connectivity study. And so it's exciting to see that this might actually happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we'll move on to the lot split of the Tarragona Shopping Center, the kind of known where the Ralph's is, and trying to recall if I've got something to share on there. I don't think I have a document. Do you have a document to share on that, Dan, or we're just going to talk to that? And do you have any updated information on that? All I know is we saw it was going to be split, but I didn't know which buildings were in which lot.
yeah, I did see a drawing, and you know, if I thought about it, I could have found it, and I maybe could have found it and shared it, but I didn't. In fact, I'd almost forgotten we had this on there. What it does is it splits off the area right around the in and out from the rest of the property. Why, I don't know. You know, that would make it sound like they're going to sell that off. Maybe they're going to sell it, trying to sell it to in and out. That would just be a guess. So my question for this group was whether or not this was something you really wanted more information, whether it was worth spending time getting more information about, or, you know, just let it go. That was really my question.
Okay, well, yeah, I was wondering walking by there if it was the separate buildings with the Panda Express, but I don't know if I need to discuss it more. I am glad to know what the lot is. Pat?
What size is the lot, Diana? Does it include all of the access lanes and the waiting in line lanes?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, thank you.
It is very tricky to do anything around there on a weekend evening. It gets very full there.
Sure does.
So, but well, really the question was whether or not this group wanted to try to have them give us a presentation, or if it was something that was, you know, not worthy enough of our time. So that was my question for all of you.
So who's interested? Lori?
I'm just wondering if whatever changes they're going to make or will help the flow of traffic. It's quite challenging to go to Ralph's, to go to In and Out or anything. So I'm just wondering if this change will help the flow of traffic. That's something I'd like to see, get information on.
Would anyone else like to send an invitation so we could learn more in a future meeting? Linda, that's a yes? Or do you want to speak? Okay, well, that's a couple. I think that's enough to try to make it happen.
We'll try to contact them and see if we can get information. Thomas or I, one of us will.
So they're actually going to do an official lot split.
Yes, that's what's proposed.
Okay, because I met with him, had breakfast with him. He was in some meeting or whatever. It's a local guy, good guy. I don't know why he has to have a lot split, but you might make it more efficient for. Oh, this is Ralph's, not Smart and Final.
This is Ralph's.
Oh, okay.
It's the in and out at the corner of Ralph's.
Oh, okay.
But maybe we'll want to put the sworn final one on the list next time if you've got something. So let us know, Rock.
That's where they're putting the corner Starbucks, which sort of got approved by some local group, which I didn't even know existed.
Okay. All right, so we've got an action item. We'll move on to 3E, discussion of repurposing the Phillips 66 property. How many people got to stop by their presentation outside of Sirens? I know I saw the Naves there. I think I saw Ray there, if I'm not mistaken.
Ray was there.
And then I saw your hand go up. Were you just saying you were there, or did you want to speak to it, Ray?
No, I was just indicating that I was there. It's worth more conversation, it appears.
Yeah, there it was. They had their maps. I listened to a little bit of interaction. I don't know if did anybody talk to them at the end to see how many people stopped by and actually had a conversation. So I saw a few. I didn't see crowds there, and I haven't heard from them. I don't know if Diana or anybody's heard from them afterwards in terms of how they're leaning. And
I have heard that they've got their plan all ready to present to a group tomorrow night or Thursday night, and then they're going to be presenting it to our joint committee. So the suspicion that they would have had it pretty well done before we gave any input may be true. It appears that they are very resistant to doing any housing. So if we think that housing is a good idea, it's something that we may want to take up. They've also put out a survey for selecting a name, and I think I sent everyone that link. I think it's actually in the agenda packet. So it was an interesting survey in terms of the way they asked the questions. It wasn't just choose between these names. It wasn't that at all. It was different considerations of what might go into a name, what was important to us. So it was an interesting survey.
yeah, I'll put that up on the share screen and recognize Ray first, and then Lori.
Yeah, I had a conversation, in fact, yesterday with Raphael. He indicated to me that they do have now more updated drawings and considerations of what's going on there. But it still gave me the impression that the conversation I had with them that they were still looking for information, more input, and so on. But it seems that they're getting closer to maybe putting it out so that people can start seeing and commenting on it. Diana, that's I think what I'm hearing you say also.
Yeah, in fact, they're very anxious to go to file it. So it sounds like it's quite far along, that they're getting ready to file it very soon. So we
Yeah.
need to be prepared to comment pretty quickly after it comes out. In fact, one of my thoughts is, since we're going to see to put aside the time potentially to have a special meeting the first Wednesday in June, in case we find that we have, after we see the presentation, we feel there's a need to have comments to take before the board at the June board meeting.
If I can just add, one of the asks by Raphael is if they can present it to the board at our next neighborhood council meeting.
And if people haven't, the survey ends the 16th, right? So you only have a few days. So if you can go to that QR code and take the survey, if you're interested in giving your feedback, I'd encourage you to do so. For those who weren't familiar, it's easier for me to see Lori speak if I don't share the screen, but I at least wanted to make that available to folks for a little bit. So apologize, Ray, for probably blocking you on the screen. But if somebody needs us to send it, just let me know. I'll stop sharing and recognize Lori.
Oh, thank you. I ran into Rafa today at the mental health fair, and he insisted I had to complete the survey. But a couple of things, he did have an updated map. If we ask for any kind of housing, he said that will absolutely delay everything by several years. And the housing that they were originally talking about being across the street from Anaheim, over close by Harbor Regional Park, he said now they're pretty much leaning towards that being a sports venue. soccer, baseball fields, things like that. And I asked who would run that. And he said local organizations, maybe Boys and Girls Club, maybe YMCA, but definitely if we push for any housing, we're going to delay things. I don't know if that's an issue for anybody, but I do think we should get an updated presentation. Thanks.
And thank you. I didn't know about the delay. I have heard several people mention housing for the area across the way that's not contaminated. So I have heard of a lot of interest, but I didn't know that that was the counter. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else with questions? I don't know if we have a ton of answers, but we can try, or comments. Looks like we will get some presentations on this. So
Sorry.
please go ahead, Kane.
Kane Nicholas here. My question, as I'm on the outreach committee as well, is there anything that we can transfer over to help understand the sentiment of what the stakeholders want to do or community members want to do?
That's what we could do by doing a motion. If we wanted to do a motion, that would be the way to do it, to start that process. We could do a motion if we had a special meeting, or we could do a motion at our regular meeting after the board meeting. So a couple of options there.
Okay, would that be out of order if we were to promote the logo survey? Would that be out of order?
That would be very appropriate.
Yep, no, we can make possible motions in item 3. So if you have one, if you want to formulate it, and I'll call on you again, knowing you have that, or if you're ready.
If you just want to promote it through the outreach committee and through neighborhood council, we don't need to do.
And I'm sorry, let me be careful. Would it be appropriate versus out of order? Would it be appropriate to push the survey to be complete through the outreach arm of the organization, whether it be post or something like that, something cost effective, and then waiting for, in terms of a public sentiment on what some of the idea, what our neighbors are thinking? Do we want to create a survey or something like that as well, that we have something as a committee?
Given at this point, until we see the presentation, I wouldn't, as a co-chair, recommend we create our own survey. They're going to provide survey data. I hope that it's good, but I'd want to wait before we did it. But you're a leader of youth and outreach too, so if you want to disseminate the survey or do things, Kane, definitely I'm not going to discourage you from exercising your leadership role.
Thank you.
Garrett.
Yes, I was curious if we had any knowledge on is the delay for housing going to come from like the needed remediation, or is it going to come more from zoning constraints? Because if it's going to come from remediation, I think the notion of a 5-year thing could be drastically understated.
Pat?
I don't have any particular knowledge, but 3 years sounds to me like a self-imposed delay tactic on their part. They can do it much quicker. It might take a zone change, but it can be done as a specific plan. Any number of other ways they could do it.
Okay. Anyone else want to offer opinions or experience with making their way through the city hall? I haven't heard it's easy anyway. Ray.
Yeah, I'm just curious if there is maybe going along with the previous question, can we kind of get some type of comparison between what is at the actual delay, what would be the reason for the delay? Because it would seem to me, in my very low level knowledge of soil remediation, is would it take more to clean up the soil to be able to put housing on there, as opposed to what they might be thinking about, or what why the increased delay? Or is it just an anxious desire to get this developed and get it in a useful situation?
Tom, if I may, they've already said that land is not polluted. if it was polluted, it would have been damaging the waterway there, Lake Machado already. So I think they've said it's clean, and if they're going to do sports fields on it, you can bet it's already clean.
Lori?
Yes, I don't think it has anything to do with the soil, and I think we could probably speculate all night long. I think we should just ask Raphael what the reason for the delay. He had a crowd around him, so I couldn't go into great detail, but it's not a soil issue. Thanks.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember some of the comments I made during the initial approach that Philip 66 did with us in a prior meeting. But their concept, they kind of, it sounded to me like they want to make it a big strip mall, basically, right? And I oppose having one more car-centric, you have to drive there, can't live there place, an enclave of cars where we need to have more pedestrian-centric living. This is an ideal opportunity to do a mixed-use development, something like Silicon Beach has done over there in Playa Vista, right? There's lots of good examples of this, how these places are desirable places to live, shop, work. There's no reason this perfectly sited property, which has good access to the freeway and has potential light rail connection in the future because it's right there, right? The terminus is just at PCH and the 110 is where they're currently planning to bring the light rail to at this point. This is like a perfect spot for this thing to be a mixed use. So from my opinion, I'd like to push hard for them to get some housing element in there.
Thank you, Jason. And kind of going back to Kane, your question, based on their presentation, I think there's probably interest on this committee to kind of survey and look at how strong, really try to get some information on the preference for the housing element, once we understand that. So, keep that idea in mind. All right, I'm going to encourage us to move to motion F. We're going to go from big industry, you don't get much bigger than big oil, to goats. So there was a request for a motion supporting the use of goats for brush clearance. And trying to remember if that one has, yep, there it is. It's a PDF. So that was posted to our website. And I will also share screen for those who don't have easy access. And I will try to make it larger. Let's see.
At the bottom, there's a little plus.
Yeah, there it is. Thanks, Jason. All right. Maybe a little bit. It's about as big as we can go. All right, it's short enough I can read it too for folks they need. So this is a CIS in support of Council File 25-0006-S1, whereas outlined in the council file I just named. It's requested that a proactive and more aggressive semi-annual brush clearance program is developed to mitigate damaging brush fires. And whereas brush clearance programs may apply for CAL FIRE wildfire prevention grants that can be used to implement sustainable brush clearing methods such as goats. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council requests that the Los Angeles City Council support sustainable methods such as goats to use to clear brush semi-annually in San Pedro's public spaces, such as parks and city-administered undeveloped land where wildfire fuel is commonly present. Okay, so this was agendized. Pat, you want to be the first to speak to it?
Move to approve.
That's what I was gonna say.
All right, so you're a second, Rock. So
Yes.
we'll go slow. I see. Looks like Dana's taking notes. All right, discussion. So moved Nave, or moved Pat, I should say, Pat Nave. Second and Rock. Any discussion?
I mean, I can provide some background on this because we've been trying to get goats back there for what, 10, 15 years now, Diana?
Ever since we had them that one year, yeah. it's been a long
Yeah. And other neighborhoods near here, like RPB uses goats, other places use goats. For some reason, the city has cited all kinds of excuses not to use goats. So every year they come in, for example, just to Peck Park, which my property back ends on. They come in with the noisy weed whackers, which is one thing, but the weed whacker guys only go so far into the canyon, leaving a whole bunch of it untrimmed. So the goats will eat all that stuff, but the guys with their backpacks and their trimmers aren't going to go that far down the slope. So you end up with a lot of potential fuel for wildfires that is not taken care of. So we can do this sustainably, we can do it more thoroughly. And Tim McCosker actually put a motion forward, that's the council file. There was another council member that supported an amendment to add this goat clause to the friendly amendment to the motion, to Tim's motion. And I'm put this motion together to support basically the friendly amendment and Tim's motion to the council.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'm going to move to a vote.
I'm just glad that Tom Brady's going to be in town.
Okay.
Some of you may understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
You want me to call roll?
Wilson is here.
Oh, okay, I'll call roll. Jason?
Aye.
Linda?
Yes.
Craig's absent. Pat?
Yes,
Rock?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Thomas, yes. Unanimous. All right. We will move on to truck chassis project. Got a letter on the DER. There's a link to the Google Drive. Was that one also attachment? Give me a sec.
That was for Pat to give just a brief overview for our new members, because the Chelsea people are coming to our joint meeting.
That's right. No, I've heard Pat a few times, but there are some newer members who haven't. So Pat, please educate us on that project.
this is an 18-acre parcel just north of the police station on John Gibson Boulevard. It's quite steep. It's a hillside that supports the 110 freeway. The owners of that property propose to level out about 8 or 9 acres of it and instead construct a 24-hour-a-day place for container chassis to be stored and as part of a staging area for servicing terminals in the port. They're estimating 1,794 trucks, 75-foot trucks per day, and they'll have high mast lighting. It'll be a 24-hour-a-day operation. If they're spaced out evenly, that would be 1.25 trucks every minute, 24 hours a day, coming in and out of there. The EIR, our comments that the board has already adopted, focused on the impact on transportation in and around the port, and also the very weak environmental work that's been done, which consists mostly of saying, we know we need permits and we'll get permits when the time comes, which means that they haven't done the environmental work necessary to look at the project, including support of the adjacent freeway. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anyone wishing? No, go ahead, Ray.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I'm hearing that it's utilizing LAPD as the point of reference and where this is going to be, is there going to be any impact to public safety with the ability to get in and out of the LAPD lot, where they park their cars to get to respond to calls and things like that when necessary?
There could be, because there's kind of lanes that will be developed, particularly coming northbound on Gibson to get into the lot. So have a long waiting lane there, and then of course trucks heading southbound out of the site would cross paths with police cars coming in and out.
Well, and if I can, I find concern when occasionally when you're looking at traffic on Vincent Thomas Bridge and the adjacent streets that feed into the port, there are major delays because of that in direction with containers and stuff like that. I don't know if it's going to be kind of the same thing, but I imagine anything that's happening with the port, and I'm hearing the in and out of all those trucks, makes me very concerned, you know, how they might be able to get these things without impeding traffic as a whole, but especially LAPD being relatively close. So that would be my biggest concern.
Yeah, the neighborhood council's already taken a position on it. This is simply, as Diana said, for our new members to kind of brief them a little bit, because the owners of the property, who we've never heard from, are coming to the joint meeting in 2 weeks. So we can ask them all those questions then, Ray.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And I think folks on this group have heard that we were invited to tour and we've kind of declined the last time we had the opportunity. So if that changes, but we will learn more. This is one of the first ones I think I worked with Pat in a different committee to work on a statement. Kane.
As a new committee member, like, is there a list of questions that have already been asked or that we want to ask as we are conjoining? Sorry, is there a list of questions that we already have already?
We've
Can I answer
not,
that?
we've not met with them, so we've not actually asked them anything. What we did was we reviewed their draft EIR and commented on it. I should say, the port, when it was a port committee and I wasn't involved in it, but yes.
And the ER, you know, we shouldn't assume folks know these acronyms, right? I didn't know what that was when I met Pat. You know, it probably took 3 times for you to explain it to me. So, you know, that's just an environmental report. It's very lengthy. It's very detailed. You know, it is available and could spend some time, you know, kind of walking you through it if you get stuck, Kane. But yeah, that's kind of, you know, we did have several conversations, you know, finding different pieces and reacting to things we had concerns about. But we have not, I don't recall, maybe Pat or others have, but I never recall meeting with them to hear from them about the project. It was just everything that I was a part of was reading and reacting.
If I
Thank
may,
Yeah, Pat, please.
Kane, the several environmental documents that they filed are lengthy, and but I think that the comments that neighborhood council filed raise a number of questions that you might want to, it might interest you. It'll be in the correspondence files of the neighborhood council, but I think we can certainly send you the link to that to save you some time. And if you read it, it's only about 3 pages long, and it raises a number of the questions about the number of trucks, the noise, the light, other studies that need to be done, that sort of thing.
Thank you.
There's a link on the agenda to it, Pat.
You know, so
Oh.
to get started, if you click control on the link on the agenda, if you're on a computer, it'll take you to this document here. So that might help you with some questions.
Thank
Okay,
you
so-
very much. I do have the link. I have my iPad here next to my computer, so I'm able to click on the link. Thank you very much.
Oh, but good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, Kane? No, good question. I wanted to compliment you because that's what this is for, is to make sure everybody gets involved and informed. So
Yeah. The D and DEIR is, what does the D mean?
Draft.
Oh, draft. Okay, key. Okay. So this is a draft. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody on work on this. It's a lot.
So there's a draft EIR, Kane, that comes out that people comment on. Then all those comments have to be reviewed and commented on in the final EIR.
Got it.
So we don't have a final EIR yet. We just have a draft EIR.
Oh, okay. Thank you for again, that is very key.
And you'll also, if you go through that, which I'd encourage you to spend some time, you'll see, I know I relied a lot on Wilmington's analysis. If you scroll the way down, you'll see we reference that. They've got some nice pictures and you know, it made it a little easier for me to understand the context of what the very complicated report is. So that's just a tip for those who want to look into that. All right, well, now I think we have some guests here who are interested in H. I feel like it's a good time to turn it over to Diana and take a break, but I won't. I'm hearing this, so ready to hear from the community on use of artificial turf on city property. And we've got a couple of different items. I've linked you to 2 of them, and so we'll go to screen sharing. Just if you want to click on the link or see if it's worth your time. what you're looking for, what it should look like. So I believe the first one will take you to the council file management system. So you can look at 240602. This is one where I probably want to go right to the website because it's a little small for me to see even on my screen. And then I wanted to share the coastal resolution. So this is on page 3. You could also get that from their website. If you're looking for page 312, they passed a motion recommending the Port of Los Angeles refrain from the purchase of installation of artificial turf. So you can see the request there. Specifically, Port of LA and all its tenant subcontractors do not purchase or install any synthetic turf on port property, including the entire West Harbor development and the proposed soundstage theater project within there. And then, yeah, it ends there. So that's all of 12. And then I also have another document provided by West Harbor. And did this one go out, Diana, in an email, or I've got this as a Word doc. So committee members, did you get a copy of the West Harbor Amphitheater Turf lawn fact sheet before tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Okay, you all did it, good. Because this one I found in a different spot on my computer. So those are 3 bits of information. If you do your homework, great. If you need to refer to those in this discussion, and just wanted to kind of introduce that I appreciate Lori bringing this up. She spoke publicly at our stakeholder meeting on Monday. And then I see Alan is here as well, seeing some correspondence, largely from those individuals. So in terms of starting the conversation, Diana, did you have anything to say before I ask who wants to speak first?
Well, I have a suggested motion and a couple
Okay.
comments leading up to it. Hold on, I just lost it.
Okay, that's the one you sent to me?
Yeah, and it didn't go out ahead of time because I spent a lot of time today kind of looking at the council file and reading all the various things and trying to take apart the pieces that were here. And after searching through it, the issue of artificial turf, I think, is one of avoidance of avoidance. So you've got 2 choices, both of which are not good. One, particularly as it relates to playing fields, because whether you use artificial turf, or you use real grass, both of them raise environmental concerns. Additionally, it appears that the newer versions of the artificial turf may have overcome some of the issues associated with earlier versions. So it turns out that there was an initial council motion in this council file, which is the one I originally sent out to people. And then today I realized, as I went through it and looked at it, there was a substitute motion. And the substitute motion is the one that actually passed the city council. The substitute motion calls for an analysis of artificial turf versus traditional grass with regard to a whole number of different factors, and instructs the chief legislative analyst to work with various city departments and report back on those findings. In February, the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office submitted a report, which really was in response to one of the many pieces of that substitute motion that looked at some of the factors that were outlined in that. That report is now awaiting consideration by the Energy and Environmental Committee. So that's a little bit of background on how we got to where we are, at least with this council file. So given all that information, I took a stab at a motion, and it's here to be discussed, changed, adopted, rejected, whatever. But my proposal would be that it's a proposed CIS in support of that council file if amended. And that's what's on the screen, that the Northwest Neighborhood Council is concerned about artificial turf, but we also recognize the need for playing fields and other open green spaces. Currently, it appears that grass is the only viable alternative to artificial turf for such fields. However, grass requires water and fertilizer, which have their own environmental problems, particularly in light of California's persistent drought conditions. Therefore, Northwest supports the proposed substitute motion, which requests the number of analyses of synthetic turf versus natural grass fields. The motion, however, should be amended to include an investigation and analysis of any newer types of synthetic turf and an ongoing mechanism for reviewing new types if they become available. So it may very well be that they determine that all of what's available is no good, and that water is indeed better for playing fields, and that there is no other viable option. And maybe they find another viable option, but there ought to be a way in the future to go back and review that. And then also, if the city is considering mandating the removal of and banning of artificial turf, that they should do a CEQA analysis, again, looking at the environmental consequences of that. So that's the proposed motion.
All right. Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Who did?
Pat, I think that was Pat.
Yeah, I'll second it. I guess we have to have a motion and a second in order to be able to discuss it.
Right, so now let's start the discussion. If you want to show your real hand or raise your virtual hand.
For what?
Okay, Lori, raise your hand first.
I beat you, Pat.
What do we need? Is this, we're in a discussion phase now? Has it been moved and seconded?
Yeah, you were the second, so we've now moved into discussion. Lori's first.
Yeah.
Put your hand up if you want to be next, Pat. Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing this motion to the table. I sent out much more detailed information from Dean Penchett at the Coastal Neighborhood Council, and also from Dr. Alan Franz. I sent it to Thomas, I sent it to Diana, I think I even copied Jason, but I didn't know all the people on this committee. And basically, very scientific information with a list of sources of the information. Dean's conclusion is that grass is a better option. Artificial turf does not necessarily use less water, and you could read that to find out why. There are grass, according to Alan Franz, that don't necessarily need fertilizer, so that's not an issue. Okay, and if you read all the community impact statements on this motion from all the neighborhood councils, nobody is supporting the use at all of artificial turf anywhere. It is an environmental irresponsibility, in my opinion. But I'd rather, I can't speak in the science terms. If you guys want to take the time to read the detailed reports provided, so that you can make a good analysis, a good option on this. But I don't think that West Harbor should go forward with this while this is pending with the LA City. I think everything should be held until a decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Jason, you're next, then Garrett.
Yeah, I just say that when I see the golf courses ripping out their grass and replacing it with artificial turf, I'll believe it's better.
Okay. Garrett.
Just wanted to request that that research report so I could read it. I just have not been able to see it. So if possible, if Lori, you could send that to me, or if Diana or Tom, if you could forward that to me, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, I got that.
I had forwarded it, I believe, but I will forward it again, Garrett, just to be sure.
Okay, thank you.
And check to see if you can open it. I think that I see a rock. I think I had issues because I think Lori sent it to Yahoo or Gmail. I don't look at as much. And when it came to my work email from Diana, I couldn't read one of the files. So I was having trouble getting them up, and I don't think we got them before I sent my stuff into Cheryl, because I was trying to get as much up as I could. But if
It's a
there's one in
PDF,
particular,
Tom, it's a PDF. You should be able to open it, right?
yeah, except that do you remember what the title was? Because I think you sent it to my old email, not the one.
I think it says Penchett on the file.
Okay,
So there's no point me bringing it up here because it's too detailed to read on here.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that goes out to everybody in the committee.
But I resent it just to, today, along with, because Alan just sent me more updated information, adding to Dean's comments. So if you could take the email you got today that I sent at 1:45 to your whole team, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay, we'll definitely do that. And then Rock, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I remember when we presented the amphitheater thing to the commission, and someone brought this up, which I thought my response to them was go talk to the Super Bowl champion Rams. If somebody has issues with this, then they should bring it up and all that other kind of stuff. But when every National Football Team and Major League Baseball team almost has all synthetic turf, I would think that would rise to a greater level there. I also thought that in the response to the amended EIR, the developers did a really good job of addressing this issue. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, I found the PDF, so we'll get that out to everyone. Ray.
There we go. Yeah, I think in the spirit of being equitable in this particular argument, it seems like there are quite a few arguments that would definitely oppose the use of artificial turf. And it just so happened that recently I was listening to NPR, I believe it was NPR, and they were talking about the use of artificial turf and all the different issues regarding the material that they use underneath, the ability to filter water back into the ground and all this other stuff. But one of the things that was emphasized that in this particular report was the fact that it really does contribute to global warming in the respect that it reflects the heat right back into the atmosphere when during these hot summer months, and it does create a situation that is hard to mitigate, unless we somehow shade the sun off the field. But I would really hope that in the inclusion of any type of material arguing for that, there is these two documents that were submitted by people within our community, but also look at the science for global warming, because there is that issue. I would hope that we would wait to see what the city comes back with, so that we have more information in that respect. So I definitely would like to make sure that everyone is equipped with all the information so that they can make an informed decision on this. Thank you.
Right. Any other discussion? Any amendments? Pat? Go ahead, Pat.
Can't hear you, Pat.
I forgot to unmute. I'm sorry. I think it's important to remember that what we have on the before us is a motion concerning this proposed CIS. We're not. I appreciate the concerns that people have over the particular project, the West Harbor, but we've taken a position on that, and then and so have the other neighborhood councils. I really don't remember what we said in our comments on the supplemental EIR concerning tariff. I do think that everybody raised it as a concern, but this one it's like taking a second bite at the apple. And I think that's counterproductive to be concerned about the one project. I want to turn to the proposed motion itself, and I'm particularly concerned about the very last sentence, that if the city is considering mandating removal, replacement, or banning of artificial turf, that's essentially a project under CEQA, and a CEQA analysis should be required. I'm going to go back. The first thing that came to my mind was a parade or a march that we participated in Berkeley in 1969, protesting Ronald Reagan's desire to remove some trees and build a parking lot. I think somebody even wrote a song about that.
Joni.
So, we've this motion of the cities looks at the pluses and minuses of grass and artificial turf, both, and that's going to impact us in a big way. We've got Bogdanovich, we have Peck Park, we have 22nd Street, we have the Wilmington waterfront park, as well as uh, Hey Rookie Pool. I mean, there's a lot of things that when you're talking about water and safety and PFAs and things like that, let's have a thorough analysis of this thing, and that's why I like that last sentence in the motion.
All right, thank you, Pat. Lori?
Yeah, I just want to point out, so some people ask me, why am I coming up with this now when this was always part of the project? I wasn't that familiar with this, but a year and a half ago, I became a commissioner on the Climate Emergency Mobilization Commission, where I first started hearing a lot about this and started asking questions and doing my research. And, you know, West Harbor is going to be amazing. This is going to be a tourist attraction, not just for California, but it could be, you know, a national and an international tourist attraction. And I think it's very important that we're making a statement and showing that we are being environmentally responsible. So I appreciate all the comments here. I just hope that the council, this neighborhood council will ask for them to at least hold off on West Harbor proceeding with this until a decision has been made. Thanks.
If I may, Tom,
Yep.
I
go
think
ahead, Pat.
well, I think procedurally, if we want to look at West Harbor again, it needs to be somebody who voted for the comments, whatever comments we made on it previously, to motion to reconsider the comments and raise it then. Otherwise, and I don't want to get too technical on why something needs to be done in that fashion, but you know, taking second bites of the apple, but just because somebody doesn't agree with something that was said or wants to change it after the comment periods have closed, is just fraught with problems.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Any other discussion?
Question.
Anybody will call in the question then? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to a vote.
So what happens if this doesn't pass?
Then there's no further action taken by this council, right? The way we would speak would be through this, so.
I mean, to Pat's comment, we've already approved this, right? So
And
we're
I-
going back to say, oh, we may change our mind sometime after more analysis.
Well, this is addressing a general thing as Diana introduced, right? And I didn't have this handy, but this is the substitute motion she was looking up in the council file. So we're actually, you know, this isn't about West Harbor. This is, you know, wider ranging in terms of overall city policy.
Right. This is city council as opposed to whatever the Harbor Department, Board of Harbor Commissioners will consider with respect to the West Harbor supplemental EIR.
And Ray's been waiting patiently with his hand up, I think, right? Is that hand up? You want to be recognized, Ray?
Yeah, I raised it up again. And I just want to kind of weigh in on Pat's comments about taking how did you say, a second bite at the apple or whatever? You know, I think as community gets more engaged and as community gets more informed, I think it may be a little off-putting in doing something like this, but I certainly believe that if we're looking for the greater good, we need to be able to revisit some of these things and make sure that the decision that's being made is the right decision. So I understand your position, Pat, but I don't think this is a bad thing in some cases, and this may be one of them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Any other discussion, or there was a call to the question, so.
I have a comment or question.
Go ahead, Kate.
Pat had raised and had named a few green spaces that we have in San Pedro. And how, again, just generally, how do we compare in terms of having this amount of you know, natural assets in terms of other San Pedro? Are we talking, well, obviously this is mostly about San Pedro, but in terms of other councils, where is, because we have more green spaces, could we influence the greater conversation? Does that make sense?
Tom?
Go ahead and respond, Pat.
Well, I've always felt like we're blessed with a lot of green spaces because we have Rena Park and, Peck Park and so forth, Bogdanovich. But I've also seen studies that say that we are underrepresented in terms of amount of green space and public park space in with respect to the rest of the city.
Mm-hmm.
The council office could probably tell you right off the top of their head, and I expect it. There's an economic distribution issue here too. Some poorer areas don't have anything really in their areas, and some other areas do have more green space and recreational facilities.
So we would have more to lose if we're in a deficit, if you will, by going artificial for whatever reason.
Well, there's two parts to this motion as I read it. The study that the city council is going to ask the city to do. One has to do with artificial turf, but all the other part has to do with natural grass areas because there's problems with both.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hate to see us, okay, and the DWP, for example, has a program where they'll pay you to take grass out because of its impact on the water. That's been as high as $7 a square foot. I think it's around $2 or $3 a square foot now. I don't want to see us impacted bad. Every pancake has two sides, and everything you can think of has a good side and a bad side to it, right? So they're going to look at this and decide what the last sentence of this motion would require them to do is to say, look, don't emphasize the bad parts of grass and the bad parts of turf as much as what we need to do is decide how we want to live our lives and how we want our recreation and school spaces to look. Come up with something that makes some sense for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Christina. You haven't got to speak yet. Christina.
Hi, yes, Christina Calandra. I just wanted to let you know that I've actually taken LADWP's WaterWise classes, and I believe it's currently $5 a square foot. Yes, they do pay you to take out your grass, but the caveat is you're not allowed to put in artificial turf. It has to be California native plants, and they encourage you to put in uh, different things to help retain water and pollinators and stuff like that. So it does make it very eco-friendly, and it helps with our pollinators. But so there are solutions through LADWP and the WaterWise programs that they've already offered on their site.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Jason.
Yeah, I was going to mention also that that LADWP removes the artificial turf qualifying as a replacement because they've already done the analysis and know that it's not a valid replacement. But also, what kind of irks me with the whole situation is that urban water use is about 8% of California's water consumption, the vast majority being growing crops in the desert that should be grown in the desert, like rice and other things. We're using a lot of water there. So when I have to say that we have to live in an environment where we have to rip out our grass to put in plastic, so they don't have to put in drip irrigation and other systems mandated by the state, it gets me a little irate that we have to suffer for them to make more profit. But do that as
Good. Well, thank you. Seeing no other hands up, I'm gonna start a vote on this. I'll start with you, Jason, for the motion you see before you.
I didn't hear anybody make a motion.
yeah.
That's how we got in the discussion. It was moved by Diana, seconded by Pat Nave, and then we've been discussing it. So was that a vote in favor or against? Sorry, Jason.
I'm gonna abstain on this.
Linda?
Yes.
Yes. Craig is absent. Pat?
Yes.
Rock?
No.
Sam?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
All right, and I will vote. No, I'll vote in favor of this. So we had one abstention, I think one nay, one absent for the record. All right, any other motions on that issue? Otherwise, I'll move us to
I just voted on it.
PIP.
PIP.
Yeah, we're moving to PIP. All right, let me see what I've got.
The board's going to be giving a full presentation at our board meeting using the slides that were in the agenda packet. In the meantime, I just wanted to have an opportunity for us to discuss it and possibly consider a recommendation to our board. The recommended projects address 3 of our priorities: the Harbor Boulevard Gateway Improvement Project, the Smart Parking Wayfinding Parking Management, and an Arts Master Plan. The Arts Master Plan was actually in our recommendations as a policy. They've put it in as an actual project. With the exception of the parking improvements, all of the other proposed projects were ones that were submitted by the community, not just, but weren't submitted by our council. The proposed parking improvements are the most expensive item. They account for almost half of the recommended funds. The project would create 2,350 new parking spaces in the old rail yard across from West Harbor. This would be paid parking. We may want to consider on that some language that was similar, and I'd look to Pat for this, similar to the language that we previously submitted with regard to using the PIP funds for moving the Iowa. Since it will generate revenue, that a portion of that revenue should come back to the PIP fund. So that's a consideration. The second one was the Harbor Boulevard Gateway improvements, the one that we had supported from Swinford to 3rd Street. It was a high priority for us. There's no specific plan yet for what this would be. Rather, if this is adopted by the Board of Harbor Commissioners, they would start with a community input process, envisioning on what exactly people want to see in that area. And I think we actually had included some ideas in our original comments on the PIP. Their third one was restrooms improvements for $5 million. They haven't yet selected a specific location, but they would be somewhere at the sort of the north end of the promenade. Sounds like they'd be similar to the ones now that are down at the town square. Those have been much more, but an improvement even on those. They're finding better ways all the time to try to deal with keeping them from being occupied permanently by homeless people going in and staying in there for long periods of time. So they're coming with new technologies. The next one was the San Pedro Outer Harbor Youth Camp, which was $5 million. This was the camp, I don't know if you're familiar with it, that was previously referred to as the Boy Scout camp. When you're driving down towards Cabrillo Beach, you go right past it there. This has kind of been in limbo for several years. The port tried to go out to RFP on this before and it wasn't successful. And then what they want to do is to go out to bid for a new operator. But they said that they need to make improvements first. And so they're recommending $5 million to do improvements before they go out to bid. That's all I know. The next one was the Smart Parking Wayfinding and Parking Management, which was one of our priorities. $4.5 million. Reports indicate that they've got new technologies for doing this that are going to make it easier, and they're going to update the parking plan as a part of that parking study. The next one was the USS Iowa. There is a slide in there, but it's probably too hard to find, Thomas. The USS Iowa I'm not sure what exactly this is for. There, I can't tell if, we had looked at plans that were really improving like the parking area, making it green and doing a lot of things in front of the Iowa. This may actually be contributing to that pavilion that they're going to build, so I'm not entirely sure on that one.
That one may be that connecting the walkway in that
Yeah.
little place, no?
Yeah, in front of it, yeah, it may be, yeah. I just, I've not gotten enough information on that. The next one was resurfacing of Signal Street, which is badly in need of resurfacing. But originally, they had been looking at using a significant amount of money for that, and they've decided just to do a little bit of resurfacing out of this 5-year plan and put off the major resurfacing that's down by Alta-C until they see what happens with Warehouse 1. So it's 1.2 million out of this one. The next one was the life support system for Cabrillo Marine Aquarium, which the port funds that aquarium. And that life support system is necessary to keep the animals alive. And it's also necessary for their accreditation. So last cycle of the PIP, there was some money allocated, but it wasn't enough to complete the work. And so this would be the money to complete the work. Then they had an arts master plan, 300,000. And the last one was the cruise terminal. There, is it that one? Yeah. Yeah. The next one here. The one at the bottom. Yeah, that one. The last one was the for the cruise terminal bocce ball courts. This was 100,000 to build shade structures over those 2 bocce ball courts that are out there by the cruise terminal. So those are the recommendations that we'll be hearing more about at our board meeting. But I put it out there to see if we had any comments now that anyone wanted to make or questions. A total of 63.1 million for San Pedro. There's also recommendations for Wilmington, but this is just the San Pedro side. Nate's got his hand up. Tom, you're muted, Tom. Tom, you're muted.
Sorry, I've been talking or anything. Pat, trying to recognize you.
I'll follow up, Diana, on your comment about the income from the parking charges for the item number 1, the $31.8 million project. Seems like something ought to be worked out there. Otherwise, it should come out of these ports, other CIP funds. If they're gonna construct something and then make money off of it, let them fund it out of their own, well, it's all their own money, but let them fund it out of their regular project money.
Yeah, that's half the budget. Thank you, Pat. Jason.
How did the selected project elements map to the community feedback session? How we rank things? How the public ranked them in our open session?
If you go back up to so I went go back up one more, or maybe it's down. Go down. I guess it's up farther. I'm sorry, Tom. I don't know where in here it is because I'm not really familiar with this. I keep going up.
Well, and this is the one from them, right? So it may not have our recommendations. This is just,
No, keep going up.
no, this is all I have on this file. It's just-
It's not the one that I sent that I sent. Okay.
it looks like the link.
Three of the ones that were
Could
our priorities, Jason, got included, but we had several priorities that did not get included. And I was gonna.
If you remember back to what we did around this time last year, I found that file. But I don't know if this, I think this just described our thoughts. So you see wayfinding was on there, gateway was on there.
Yeah, I'm
No.
talking specifically to when we did the community outreach on Thursday night, where everyone came in and voted on the projects that we thought were interesting.
Right.
And
Yeah, I
how,
don't have that one handy.
how the voting mapped up to what they selected. I'm curious how well they followed the public's input.
No, I can only match it to what the neighborhood council submitted afterwards. I don't have to, we'd have to do some research, Jason, to find the other one.
I think
But we
it's,
did that. It's probably someplace in our archives.
go up one. Um, I recall it's that the Gateway project and wayfinding were two really important ones, and they have those two in there. The parking lot down by 22nd and Minor Street were not high on our list. Look, I mean, anything connected with the cruise terminal and the two 40,000 square foot development parcels they have down in Cabrillo Phase 2, they're going to support whether it's roadway improvements or parking. That's why parking is in here. It's just a question of whether they should have been taken out of our PAIP allotment or should come out of their regular CIP funding. But otherwise, they kind of followed what we was suggested, not directly.
Two that were very high on our list, which I think is part of what Jason is thinking about. One was the bridge across
The pedestrian bridge. Yeah.
the bridge, and the other one was a off-road transit system. I don't remember how we worded it. Jason.
Dedicated right of way people mover that doesn't interface with traffic.
And so they put those on a list that might be considered later is what they did with them, which is what I was looking for, was that list, but
So remind me, where was the pedestrian bridge gonna be?
There was several cited locations for it. Potentially you could have more than one, just to get across harbor, to get from downtown and St. Peter's side to the waterfront project. It's a fairly long project. They actually talked about a potential bridge at one point from a parking structure, kind of on the south side of the project. And then Rancho San Pedro proposed one at one point on the north side of the project. So potentially you could have more than one site, you could have multiples. I kind of wanted to talk about that in general. I spent some time in Jakarta late last year, and they've got pedestrian bridges all over the place. And it's a wonderful way to get across busy streets without interrupting traffic. And I was just thinking, gosh, if Indonesia can have these, why the heck can't the United States put pedestrian bridges over busy places to not stop traffic? So I took a bunch of photos and videos of it. But I just was curious. My question was really about, we had that whole outreach, we did all this. I wanted to see how things that what we voted on high, when we get a lot of votes for certain projects, where they ranked and what they eventually ended up deciding, to see if the community outreach affected their decisions at all.
well, the Gateway project and the smart parking, wayfinding and parking management were high on the voting that we did with the community. But there were also these other two projects that were even higher that didn't get in. What we may want to consider when we do put together our comments is we may want to express our disappointment at the pedestrian bridge, because we were only asking them to do a study of the feasibility, that didn't get included. So we might want to comment on that.
Yeah, and especially, it'd be nice to have Axel come talk to the group about this, because the council member is much more involved in this. So, I might, a cynic might wonder, to help the city with its issues, or, help the port, you're going to take half the money for things they're going to do anyway. Because I think Pat raised a really good point. If half of it, 30 million, went off the table because it really isn't for the spirit of what we're looking for, those other things that were on that list, Jason, there would be money for them, right? But if you, with 30 million gone, I could see where they could get crowded off in that interplay between the council office and the port leadership. And then they do have a meeting tomorrow too, so I might get a chance to ask Augie, his thought, what their input was there. And we'll look up that information so we have that ready. because that is good to map as our indication of the public interest. Related to some of the comments at the joint meeting, if you remember, we heard from a member of another neighborhood council, Central, and then we also had work, similar. We spoke similarly about the importance of making sure the port maintains all these things they build, right? That they aren't deferred. So this was also put in the packet to remind folks in May 2024. President Regalado signed the letter here. The key thing I want to look at is we appreciate all the dedicated work. Construction maintenance staff at the Belmont Public Space Center maintains increased. Our request for increased staffing and increased amount of dollars for maintenance support of LA. So that was brought up by James, and we might also want to put that in a statement, right? It's great to do all these things, but let's make sure we keep them nice for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Which is what kind of moving into J here with they're both on the PAP.
So Thomas, when you're at the meeting tomorrow, maybe you can express our disappointment over the parking bridge not being, that study not being included, and concern over this 50% of the money going for a parking lot, which didn't appear to be on anybody. If I read the slide correctly, and you'll see that slide tomorrow, does not appear to have been on anyone's input list.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be
And
interesting
you
if
could
we could dig
also
up.
ask what the plan is, see if you could find out what the Iowa money is for. If it
Okay.
includes like the walkway and the greening and the stuff that we had been excited about.
Okay, we'll do that, Diana. And then Jason, I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I'll just, if we could dig up that list from the survey night where we could see how things were ranked and voted for, which projects that'd be interesting too, if anyone. I looked in my folder for the PAP and I don't have it. Maybe in the notes from one of our monthly meetings, or maybe someone has it on their hard drives.
If you could remember the date when we did it, Jason, would be easier to find.
Was it October?
Let me see the dates on the files in my folder. I have the welcome document I created is March 2024.
Oh, was it that long ago? Wow.
Yeah, so it was probably April if I created it in March.
I can check see if I can find it with that. If it's in March or April, I can find it in March.
Because we can use that to weigh in our comments to say, here's what the public asked for. And, there's some missing pieces. And then of course the parking thing, where did that come from? I guess if you're not going to build a little transit system, you got to make more parking.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Or if you won't bring the red car back, or you've got a lot of good ideas, Jason. All right, with that, you're kind of on the agenda here. So if you're in your computer, you might want to get ready on your notes. All I have under the item K, city brush clearance policy, was just a screenshot here of this LA City Clerk Connect. Are you ready to talk about this, Jason?
So I'm not sure, what is this one? Wasn't this in relation to brush clearance that we just talked about, or is this the?
Well, I wasn't sure. I had it on there because I wasn't sure, and I didn't talk to you before. If we've already covered it with the goats, if all it was is the ordinance on the goats, we don't need to cover it more if it was wider ranging, because we have had past conversations in the other committee we're on about just the fire danger and that they can't get away with just clearing brush once, given the fire risk.
Yeah, the council file does mention multiple semi-annual clearance, so I think that's probably what this is all wrapped up in, because I don't remember a second agenda item for this.
Okay, so if anybody else have any concerns about city brush other than they actually took on goats? If not, we'll move on to an interesting one, exciting one. Requesting the Olympic Committee relocate sailing from Long Beach to San Pedro. And that's something our council member and council office has talked about.
Motion to support.
Second.
Make that, okay, so we got a first and a second. This is the actual motion, ATK. Apologize for some of these, it goes to the the Google folder for the other neighborhood council or, but this is the motion we're talking about, so we'll just have to, Diana and I'll write a quick note that we are in support of this motion. If this passes. So any other discussion?
Who seconded it?
What's that?
Rock.
No, thank you.
I know this was discussed in the Economic Development Committee for the chamber today. Sounded positive. Sounded like it was going forward or whatever that means. I never can quite tell in some of these discussions, but I was encouraged as to what I heard. And I think a lot of people will like the idea of it. I think they were analyzing the economics and whether it made sense. And I understand that to some extent. When I've always explained the project, it's like, can you really get there faster? Because the breakwater, you have mileage zones, I mean, speed zones. So you can only go so fast and whatever. So there's a thing of like, is it really going to be effective? But
Excuse me, Rock, but I think you're talking about the next item, not this one.
oh, I thought this was, sailing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but that's right. We'll remember what you said for the next one, Rock. Christina?
Okay, good. Because I won't.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I've reached out and was wondering if there's anything as a community member besides writing a letter in support. Is there anything else that we can do to support this motion and trying and get the sailing over here?
Well, you could do an individual letter. This is going to be a strong letter. We're speaking for Northwest San Pedro. So, we'll see what this board does here. I don't know, does Diana have a more expert, opinion? Definitely, your letters and, advocacy, if this comes up for a vote in the city council would be helpful.
So how realistic is this? Is it all set in Long Beach? Is it all in stone?
That's what I was gonna say. I'm not sure. It may already be set. This is a fairly recent motion on Tim's part, so I'm not sure. And we didn't check in with his office to see what has happened.
I would
Go
love
ahead,
it.
Larry. Oh.
I would love it if we can have a meeting, or I don't know what the type venue is or whatever, but the Olympic stuff just keeps popping up in some of our meetings. But from a comprehensive standpoint, what is really being contemplated and what is in stone and what is not and all that kind of stuff. So,
Lori.
Yeah, I asked council member about it. He was feeling fairly hopeful. And if any of you watched the State of the City address by Mayor Bass, when she mentioned Tim, she was saying that he brought the Croatian delegation to San Pedro for the Olympics. And then she kind of insinuated and she said, and possibly something else more. And that's what she was referring to, was the sailing. So Tim feels hopeful. It'd be nice if we had people who sail, experts. Angela on our board sails down there. If we had some good information about why San Pedro is a better location, not just because we want it there, but I just wanted to mention that the mayor hinted at it. So,
have you seen my background?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Have you seen my background on my video?
Oh no, who said that?
Jason.
Jason.
Oh, Jason, you're a sailor. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know you that well. In fact, I don't even think I've met you in person.
He's been promoting the wonderful, sailing events. I'm going to recognize myself, Kane. First thing, I didn't put my hand up to see myself. I knew I wanted to make a comment, but being on our auxiliary board for the university, we have some Olympic events, and it does seem fluid. So since McOscar's been trying to bring this, we've been awarded one more sport, right? So we're now going to have archery at Cal State Dominguez Hills, in addition to cycling and two other sports. Now I'm forgetting, field hockey, one that I don't play, and another one I don't play. So I think it is, but the process is everybody's sworn to secrecy, which, I work for the state. It's like, why are we keeping secrets with state taxpayer money? But the Olympics are very, very much want to control when those things are announced. So I couldn't have told you that like last week, but I could tell you that today, in the spirit of knowing that I think it does matter. So I think that our resolutions is important. And speaking up now, I think, is important because there is still some time. I think we saw Mayor Bass was proud to announce that the Olympic Coliseum, or, you know, like it's going to have an opening ceremony with two parts of LA. So that was exciting. And it probably helps keep excitement in the community longer, the more announcements they have like that. Okay, Kane.
Absolutely. I just wanted a point of notification that I was on the board for the YWCA last year, and that's, while it may not be in Northwest, they were instrumental in support of Sail GP the prior year as well. So sailing is not foreign, obviously, to San Pedro.
Sing up, Diana.
In response to something that was said a minute ago about maybe saying a little more about why sailing would be good from San Pedro, maybe we ought to reference the recent sailing event that was so successful here.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've seen something from Acosta where he did a really good job, but I thought that was probably what I want to do is motion. Like, I saw a really neat presentation of why LA was better than Long Beach. I forget where and when I saw that, but in ours, maybe a statement like that. And Jason, if you have anything you want to email me or text me tonight, well, I guess we got to vote on it. So do you have anything from your work on? Do you remember the numbers, or, you know, what I saw talked about how many thousands of people we accommodated, and the glowing reviews we got from the participants?
I don't have any of that off the top of my head. I mean, I think it's a pretty nice venue to watch an event because we have multiple places to watch from, kind of circling the area, where Long Beach doesn't have quite the diversity of space where you can have spectators. I mean, we're just supporting a motion to, we're just proposing a motion to support this motion. So I don't know how much more we need than that.
I move to support the motion.
It's been moved and seconded.
I'm just making sure.
Second.
Call for the question.
Yeah. Aye.
Let's vote.
Go to the roll then. I was just going to try to draft something a little fancier, but let's move on. I should want to watch the end of the Timberwolves game. All right, Jason.
Aye.
Linda.
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
Rock.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
Diana.
Yes.
Thomas, yes. Unanimous. All right, thank you. Stop sharing. Right, we're back to Jason again now, and Rock. We remember what Rock said about the discussion today at the chamber on water taxi service during the Olympics. Feasibility, any comments on that? Or
Yes.
anything you might want to do?
Did you have the document that I sent a fresh copy of it? Diana forwarded it originally. Should be in your inbox. You could pull up the Metro study, the board report. There's a feasibility study of water taxi service between San Pedro and Long Beach. So they have a feasibility study of that.
All right, Diana, did that one, was that in our packet, or?
I don't remember seeing that, Jason.
You sent it to me.
Feasibility study? Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking about Janice's motion to do.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, the title of it is a feasibility study.
Okay, yeah. Janice, Supervisor Hahn did a motion. It went today. We put it on here thinking that we might be able to do a letter of support, but our letter is going to be too late at this point. What happened is it went today to the Olympics and Paralympics Committee of Metro, which she happens to head, and it had a number of public speakers, all of which were enthusiastically in support of the motion. It was unanimously adopted to do a feasibility study and look at the infrastructure that would be required to do a water taxi. And we also had, there was discussion of trying to get it functioning earlier to assist during the Vincent Thomas Bridge closure. The comments I made were the ones that our neighborhood council had put into the Vincent Thomas Bridge EIR, that there should be this as a mitigation measure. So now it goes to the full Metro Board, and that happens the end of this month. But there were speakers there from Long Beach, there was someone there from Torrance. It was very well supported, very enthusiastically supported. But I don't think that there's any reason at this point. I think it's too late for us to take action.
No action for us to take, but
I am checking to see if they need letters of support or anything for the board meeting. And if so, we would have to do it as individuals because it wouldn't have been time for our board to act.
you mentioned the scope of having this as an alternative while the Vincent Thomas Bridge is closed. Was that mentioned in this at all in the discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
Janice brought it up in her opening remarks. And several of us brought it up in our subsequent remarks. There were a number of good speakers that brought up various aspects. It was very good. I was glad I was on the call.
See, we're past our 7:30. So I want to be sensitive to time. Any other discussion on this? Otherwise, I had kind of a question for the committee, especially given the number of new members. So I'm seeing no other discussion. I know a lot of folks like Zoom, so I'm just kind of curious, how many of you, did this work well for you, the Zoom meeting?
Yes.
yeah,
And how many of you wish that we were meeting in person as well? That we're at the, is there anybody who wishes we were all together in the downtown?
I like the alternate.
Okay. So I wanted us to think, we don't have to make the decision now, but we can do all Zoom meetings except for one, the way the law is written. We do need to meet physically at least once per year. We've already done that because our year ends in July, but I know we sometimes cancel meetings because we don't have a lot to discuss. So I at least wanted people to start thinking now as we get closer to May and then June 30th, and especially for newer members. So Garrett, Kane, Sam, to just kind of get your take. Do you want to look towards doing, Zoom as a default, and then we'll pick a date in the fall, maybe for the one, and it might be, if we're doing another survey or a public, outreach, effort, it might make more sense to plan the in-person meeting for whatever month we're doing something there, or maybe around PIP preferences or such. That's a time which would make the most sense for me to get together when we might have things to share. But that's just my opening remarks to get people to share with me what they think about the modality going forward. Kane.
Thank you. If Miss Linda was mentioning alternating meetings, the in-person meeting would then also be, let me back up. As long as we have a calendar, it could be spotty or anything like that. As long as I have an annual calendar, that'll be fine, and know ahead of time.
Okay, thank you, Kane. Garrett?
Yeah, I'm okay with either platform. I feel if we do kind of move to more of like a Zoom-based platform, the only request that I would make is that a majority of people have their cameras on, just because it makes it more of a lively discussion versus just staring at a bunch of nameplates on a window. That just becomes very lackluster, in my opinion.
That was Pat's idea.
That was a good point, Garrett.
Thank you, Garrett. Jason?
You can stay.
Yeah, that's only because Pat usually has his camera pointed up at the ceiling and we can't see him anyway.
That's true.
So when we do have meetings in person, though, I believe we should still do hybrid so we can reach out to the community, because a lot of people won't show up, but it's easy to click on a Zoom link versus go in park and rummage around to get to our meeting place. So we talked about at some point in the past buying a simple conference table, omnidirectional mic that works good in such environments, and a little webcam and some way to facilitate a hybrid meeting, kind of like we have at the Chamber of Commerce building, just on a mini portable scale. So do we want to still pursue that?
Given the budget cuts, neighborhood council, I think less likely to prevail with Melanie, but I'll mention it to her the next time I see her. I think we're getting our funds cut by half.
Those devices are pretty cheap.
No, it's not half. They're looking at going from 32 to 25.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not half.
All right. Well, it seems significant. Thanks for the correction, Linda.
I mean,
Felt bigger than it is. Sam.
Yeah, I like the Zoom format. I also like the in-person format. But if we're doing the joint meetings, once a month in person, I don't have a problem with doing, our committee meeting by Zoom. See,
We,
or at least the option to do the joint ones in person.
you faded out there. You know what? You just gave me another idea on how seeing we are meeting in person for those. We probably are meeting the in-person requirement just from those meetings we hold during the joint meetings. So we could consider just making this all Zoom all the time. I do think, and I'm curious for newer members or, members who are working, how this works. I'm finding with the students, the age of people I work with, I think when we move to a Zoom format, it increases our participation, but I know there are, there is something lost, but this committee does have the ability to meet in person once a month as well. So that's a great point. Jason, it looked like you might have wanted to make a second comment. And then Kane?
No, my hand's down. It was the same topic of acquiring the equipment. They're cheap. I mean, it's not like a lot.
Okay. Kane?
And then my comment is, my daughter was bringing me some lunch. I forgot. This is a heavy committee, and so meaning it's paperwork intensive, and so the ability to save time with travel, Zoom is preferred, and so I just wanted to add that, so that way we're able to do deep research and come prepared.
No, please be honest about that, right? What works for you? As a new member, we want this to work for as many people so you stay and don't leave. So,
I'm not going. I personally I'm not going anywhere. But again, anybody joining this particular committee, they should know versus an outreach or out.
And I'm sorry, I should have used one. I didn't mean you in particular, Kate. I'm not afraid. I know you're very dedicated. In fact, I want to ask you to help me with Melanie, right? Because I have brought it up before and I've been rebuffed at least twice to Jason's request. So maybe if we both talk to her at the next stakeholder meeting about the importance of this, the lack of cost, she'll have to say no to both of us. So I'll try to remind if you like Jason's idea, if we even do it though, I could see us moving to a Zoom only, where then we wouldn't need to manage that. I don't, in my experience, I've got some equipment too, and setting up in the city hall, I don't really like. I do really like the chamber setup. So my preference for organizing hybrid meetings is I'm getting pretty picky. I want to be in a dedicated room that's already set up. So I could, because I'm busy too, I don't want to spend a half hour setting up to do this. But then that gets to another bomb, I guess I'll drop at the end. I was awarded a sabbatical for next year, so I will not be seeking, maybe my mind will be changed, but I'm very much considering not co-chairing this committee as we get into the next year. So be reaching out to some of you to just find, we'll also need Ray. Is Ray still on? That appointment process will be coming up. And so if people are particularly interested in getting more involved, I think this committee will need some help as we look at some of the summer months where I'll be working pretty independently because Diana will be doing some wonderful travel. And not on the agenda, but if you wanted to address that, it does relate to the calendar, I suppose, in terms of who's going to manage the calendar. Go ahead, Diana.
You asking me?
Yep. Oh, your hand's up, so.
Oh, it's up for a different part of this. And that was this question of whether or not, and we don't need to make the decision tonight, we may want to make it after the joint meeting. But this question, since we're going to hear the presentation from Bill 66 at the joint meeting, it's then going to be on our board agendas, I understand from Ray, but whether or not we want to meet in between and come up with our recommendations to the board. Since it sounds like they are on a fast track and trying to move quickly, there'll always be a chance to amend it. But if we were to do that, it wouldn't be the second Wednesday in June. It would need to be the first Wednesday in order to get to the board. Otherwise, we could skip our meeting on the second, do the same thing, but it wouldn't get to the board until July. And then with regard to what Thomas was talking about, I will actually be gone for 3 months. So we're looking at how to balance all of this out, and being co-chairs helps.
So I can use people who want to help me, I guess, is my plea. So if people can help out when Diana's not there, you see, with her help, this goes a lot smoother. I would be a lot slower and less staffed if I'm on my own. Ray.
Well, hearing about all these vacations and times off, I'm really concerned about quorum, so please figure that part out when as people leave and come and go. Because you guys do magnificent work. Yeah, a lot of leadership is shown here, so don't want to lose any of it. So help neighborhood council out here.
The other comment I wanted to make is that, sharing the work is great. So if people see council files or see things they want to comment on or want to help documents you want to help develop, we've actually done, particularly Thomas has led doing a group writing or something. But other times different people have contributed different parts. Sometimes people have just brought forward things that they were interested in, and that has caused us to put it on the agenda and take action.
I think it would be a good idea to meet before and prepare for the Phillips 66 presentation.
Yeah, so you want to call a special meeting?
I think it'd be a good idea if we have a quorum of agreement, then let's do it.
Garrett, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I agree with Jason's recommendation to have a meeting to discuss that so we can have kind of a cohesive understanding of what's going into that meeting. But my summer schedule is freeing up immensely, so anything I can help to assist with drafting or anything, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Garrett. All right, Kane, you are nodding your head that we should have a special meeting.
Yes.
And so, it'll be in lieu of our typical meeting then, and the proposal is to move it up 1 week, right? So we're the Wednesday before. Is there anybody opposed to that recommendation? Any voting board members? Linda, does that work for Linda?
Yes.
Because we do need a quorum. And Sam, will that work for you?
Yeah, works for me.
Okay, so we do have a Rock. Sorry, I don't mean to ignore you, Rock. Does that work for you?
Just tell me what to do.
Okay. All right.
We have an issue with the budget committee and the Zoom. We may have to start like at 6:30. We'll have to find out instead of 6 if that's an issue.
Oh yeah, no, Vic will never let me double schedule. I've ran into that when we tried to do that for the port committee. All right, so we'll get back to you, but it sounds like the group wants that opportunity, so then we'll work as chairs to find that out. But yeah, Diana's right. We can't have the time overlap, but we should be able to do it earlier. And that could be a short meeting, right? If we just have one thing we're taking action on, we can keep it pretty simple. Okay, that moves us to general public comments on non-agenda items.
I just had a quick question. Diana sent you an email on this. There's a development going on by the softball fields and PV down Western. People have been asking me about it. I haven't driven by there. Is that something affiliated with the bridge, or is there something else? I know we never really know about what's going on in PV. They're finally doing the redevelopment of that strip center on Western, 2800 block, something like that. Does anybody know about what else may be going on? People keep describing it. It's by the softball fields and how you get out and around Front Street and all. I know Front Street's being redeveloped.
Well, Front Street is not in PV. Front Street is in.
I know, but there's stuff going on there and people reference it when they ask me about this spot.
Right, if you're talking about Front Street, that's the port, that's the off-ramp for the 47 freeway, that on-ramp and off-ramp?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And they're also redoing Front Street anyway.
Yes.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's that's what they were talking about, or if anybody knew about something else. But they said it looked like they took a chunk out of the hill.
Yeah.
And it's already graded and it looks like it's ready for units.
No, it's for landscaping. They did take it down the hill. I've seen it, but I've seen the landscaping plan, so they're not building housing on port property.
No, it's not port property. I don't think this is port property, but it's near it. Okay.
Port property. Pat Nave can tell you it's port.
Well, the port property isn't on a hill.
Yeah, port property is on that hill. Most of that hill belongs to the port. But I
Not
think
hill, yeah.
there's only one lot left up there that does not belong to the port. I did the work to take all that property.
Okay, so you think it's all affiliated with the bridge then? That's what I
Well,
thought.
it's the, I think it's affiliated with the off ramp realignment to separate the trucks coming off over
Yeah,
from
that's what I meant.
Long Beach. Yeah, it's not the VTB resurfacing project.
Okay. See, I didn't argue.
All right, well,
Good question, though. I wonder about it myself.
all right, any other questions? Looks like most of the members of the public are gone. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate how many people turned up for this. You know, made it easy. We didn't have to worry about a quorum. Keep this in mind because with 2 members, when the names are gone, then getting quorum, each of you attending is much more important. Have been in a committee where I think more than a third of the meetings we couldn't do anything because we didn't have quorum. Jason served on it with me. That can be kind of disappointing and frustrating. So especially thanks for the new members who are really stepping up and committing and being responsible. But I should give greater thanks to the original members, right, who actually got us to where we are and have all the wisdom. So from Linda, Jason, Rock, Pat, and Diana, of course, thank you so much.
Great job of running the meeting, Thomas.
Well, thank you. I'm
Thank you.
gonna stop.